Is Durham going to do more? I don't know. He should. He should question Hillary Clinton before a grand jury. He should question Joe Biden, dare I say it, before a grand jury. And of course, the head of the grand conspiracy, Barack Obama. First up, though, is something that Judicial Watch is taking the lead on, which is exposing the truth behind the worst government corruption scandal in American history in terms of political criminality. That is the targeting of candidate Trump and then President Trump and people around him. And John Durham, the special counsel, he was essentially, just a regular prosecutor looking at this. And just before he left, Attorney General Barr made him a special counsel. He finally indicted someone else. And this someone else is a big deal. It's Michael Sussmann, who is a lawyer or had been a lawyer for the law firm of Perkins Coie, and that's the firm behind the dossier. And it's also the go-to firm for the Democratic Party. So Sussmann was the lawyer for Hillary Clinton's campaign, the lawyer for the Democratic Party, namely the Democratic National Committee. And he had a special meeting shortly before the election in 2016 with the general counsel of the FBI, General Counsel Baker, in which they discussed targeting Trump. And specifically, he alleged in this meeting and gave him documentation, according to the indictment that was just issued this week by the grand jury, or returned this week by the grand jury at the request of Durham. He was behind the idea that this Russian bank had communications, improper communications or relationships, or there was some sort of internet communication that raised questions with the Trump organization. And you may recall the media ran with that. Alpha Bank, Russian bank, and the Trump people have been connected. Well, he was indicted. Sussmann was, not for lying about that specifically, but for lying about the reason he was there, because allegedly he told Baker he was there just as a citizen, just conveying information he thought the FBI should pursue. He withheld from Baker, according to the indictment, that he was there on behalf of Hillary Clinton, the Clinton campaign, Democratic National Committee, etc. So he lied about the reason and the purpose of the meeting. And when you lie to the FBI, it's a crime. That's why, don't talk to the FBI unless you have a lawyer present and the lawyer advises you completely of what your rights are, even then. So he's meeting with this lawyer. First of all, let me be clear here. Let's take a step back. This meeting should never have taken place. Sussmann is a DOJ. He had used to work at the Department of Justice, so he knows everybody, and he gets to get into meetings like this to shop garbage like this. And and I encourage you to review the indictment. It's available widely online, and read it yourself. And what's interesting about it is that there's, the one charge really about making the false statement, but there are 24 pages describing an illicit conspiracy targeting Donald Trump. They all knew that there was no there when it came to the allegation that the Russian bank had a connection to the Trump organization through these internet connections that they were pretending were happening. They said it was a red herring. In fact, it turned out there was nothing. The FBI figured it out rather quickly, and they knew that going in. And in fact, there's email communications detailed in the indictment showing that they were discussing how to make the document they were going to give the general counsel of the FBI plausible on its face, so that at least initially someone could say, oh, there's something here, even though they all knew that in essence it was a hoax. And the indictment lays out how the Clinton campaign colluded on this, how Fusion GPS colluded on this. It looks like Hillary's other lawyer colluded on this. So the question is this going to be the last gasp of Durham or the beginning of something more by Durham? I don't know the answer to that. It would be seemingly unusual to me to have all that material about what looks to be other criminal activity that isn't charged here and just leave it there for no future action. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, I'm going to call it like I see it. If I were Sussman's defense attorney, I would say, look, everyone knew he worked for the DNC. Everyone knows this firm worked for Hillary Clinton. So no lawyer worth his salt would have understood that Sussmann was there for anything other than to advance Hillary Clinton's political agenda. So that's what I would be saying to a jury. But, the allegations are what they are, that Baker thought he didn't understand it to be for Hillary Clinton. And so as a result, Durham says the FBI handled the allegations differently than they might have otherwise handled them. It's obstruction of justice largely, and it makes common sense. If you go to the FBI, and this is the bigger issue, is they had information that they knew, or had likely reason to know was not accurate. And they pretended otherwise to the FBI and said they should seriously investigate it without telling them the political angle there. So that's going to be interesting. But as I said earlier, but as I've been saying, that the other issue is the FBI and the Justice Department's culpability here, which is kind of related to this, because the FBI had already been working with Christopher Steele, who was one of the people who was involved in trying to figure out what was going on here in terms of manufacturing these allegations against President Trump, or then candidate Trump. Judicial Watch uncovered that Christopher Steele was being paid by the FBI at the same time he was being paid by the Clinton campaign. It was a joint operation. And then later, even after they fired Christopher Steele as a source, they still gave him information. And the FBI told Christopher Steele, even though he was a leaker, they knew he was a leaker, and they knew he was an agent of the Clinton campaign, that they were investigating Trump. And of course, that was leaked. The other interesting thing here is some folks have complained, well, he's a small fish. Sussmann is not a small fish. Sussmann is a big fish in a small pond of co-conspirators who were targeting Trump, including Hillary Clinton, I would allege. Because when you see the Twitter feed of Hillary Clinton around that time, people have noted, she was pushing this angle on Alpha Bank that everyone knew was a fraud and everyone around her knew was a fraud. So I don't know what Durham's going to do, but the conclusion one can draw from this is, according to the United States government, of which Durham is a representative, they've been doing this investigation forever and a day. They have found that the effort to tie Trump to Russia included false information knowingly given to the FBI under false pretenses, and it was criminal in nature. It was criminal in nature. As I've said it once, and I'll say it again. President Trump is a crime victim. And this indictment proves it. Is Durham going to do more? I don't know. He should. He should question Hillary Clinton before a grand jury. He should question Joe Biden, dare I say it, before a grand jury. And of course, the head of the grand conspiracy, Barack Obama. So good news. I've been critical of John Durham. I didn't see any evidence of an investigation. But now I have evidence of an investigation, finally through an indictment. He was targeting and criminally investigating the Clinton campaign. And the Clinton's campaign top lawyer, one of two top lawyers, is now under federal indictment as part of his scheme in league with the Clinton campaign to lie to the FBI and smear Donald Trump. And of course, the indictment also highlights how they were placing this material in the media. It looks like Sussmann also went to the CIA. This is where the corruption is, in addition to whatever these folks were doing, is that they had allies and co-conspirators in the deep state. Why on earth would the CIA getting involved or talking to a political candidate's lawyer? But it shows you that it doesn't matter, because it's Trump, they'll do whatever. And I'll just raise quickly here the issue of General Milley, where you have this Woodward book coming out, that says that Milley called the Chinese and to supposedly reassure them, promised to give them a heads up if there was going to be an attack by the United States. A treacherous and dangerous thing. I mean, besides the treachery of it, you could have incentivized at that time, and thank God the Chinese didn't do anything, at least we know about, the Chinese to take a rash act because they thought they might have some time to get, some time to protect themselves because they get a heads up from Milley. I mean, that's the definition of mutiny, of treachery. I don't know how else to describe it. And of course, Joe Biden protects and defends Milley and says he has full confidence. So he supports the sedition and treachery targeting the office of the presidency. But because it's Trump, the rule of law doesn't mean anything. The Constitution doesn't apply, and anything goes. And because they said it was only about Trump, we were supposed to believe, oh, don't worry, it won't be anything worse than what they did to Trump. It was only about Trump. It's not about us. And of course it's about us. Of course it's about us. Because now they're targeting through this 1-6 investigation, all Americans. You have this vaccine mandate, which is abusive of our rights as well. Social media monitoring, censorship. It's all about us. They're calling out the National Guard, making a scene about calling out the National Guard because there's going to be a First Amendment protected protest in town here in Washington, D.C. So what is Judicial Watch doing about it? As usual, we're already on it. With respect to Sussmann and the meeting with Baker, we sued in 2018. They didn't even want to confirm whether the meeting existed or not. It's taking place one way or another. We had a federal court say, no, you have to proceed. They still fought us on releasing documents, and we've been getting documents. My understanding is the documents have been mostly redacted. They don't really show us anything substantive because the only thing the FBI and Justice Department has been willing to do is confirm the meeting took place, but have refused to turn over much of anything in substance. So we've already been in court, and now we know why they hid the material, because it would have shown the lies and their collusion with the Clinton campaign here. On Milley, he had that phone call with Pelosi, which was also seditionist by a part of both Pelosi and Milley, talking about the nuclear codes and Milley undermining his own chain of authority by answering to the Speaker of the House, who isn't part of the chain of authority. Really outrageous treachery, in my view, sedition, I would say. And so we've sued for those records. Everyone wants to know what's going on. Where's that phone call material? We want it. Woodward supposedly had something denoting what happened in the call. And we're in court for it, and we're supposed to get the documents soon, within the next few weeks. So we'll see what we get, and we'll see what they withhold. So good news about the Durham investigation. He needs to do more. Better late than never. And remember, Trump is a crime victim. And he frankly continues to be victimized because you kind of see this in New York with the targeting of his organization through petty and vindictive charges. Man, I get ticked about this stuff, I don't, it's not just a game for me. It's not just a game for my colleagues at Judicial Watch. I know you get upset about it, and I get upset about it. And it's not because, I support a policy of one politician versus the other. It's the rule of law and the gamesmanship. That's why even if someone, these days, I'm willing to give Sussmann the benefit of the doubt because I don't trust the Justice Department and the FBI. What I do want, though, is our serious investigations and the process that works. And if people get prosecuted one way or another, that's, I can live with that, right? Now, I think there ought to be more. I'm not saying that, everyone should get a pass, because I don't believe that, especially in the case of Obamagate. But in the least, there needs to be a serious investigation. And the indictment is good. But what is as important is that there was an investigation. Well, we'll see what happens with Durham. But, Judicial Watch isn't going to stop its investigations. We don't think Durham should be the end all and be all, certainly. heck, you know, much of what's in the Durham report, Judicial Watch has already uncovered. So we're just going to keep on with the heavy lifting. So I hope Durham does more, but we're not going to rely on Durham in the end. You can be sure of that.
Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch all the latest news from Judicial Watch.